The Red-Headed League. Scene 1. An interesting advertisement. The inside of Wilson's shop. It's a little shop with a lot of clocks, pictures, watches, etc. Wilson is writing at a table. Vincent Spaulding is looking at the Morning Chronicle newspaper.
This is interesting.
What is?
This advertisement. It is interesting for you, Mr. Wilson, because you have red hair.
Go on.
The Red-Headed League want to find someone new. Do you know about them? Listen. To all red-headed men, 21 years old or more, the Red-Headed League can now take a new man. We pay £4 a week to do easy work. Come to the League offices at 7 Pope's Court, Fleet Street, London, on Monday at 11 o'clock. You can get £200 a year.
Really? Tell me about it.
A rich American with red hair began the League. When he died, he gave a lot of his money to the Red-Headed League to give easy work to men with red hair. It's very good wages for only a little work. Why don't you go along to Pope's Court?
But millions of red-headed men will go...
Not millions. You need to live in London.
I don't know.
And you must have very red hair. You have very red hair, Mr. Wilson.
Monday. 11 o'clock.
It's Monday today. And it's nearly 11 o'clock. Come on.
Scene 2. Some easy work for Wilson. The office at Pope's Court. A room with only a table and 2 chairs. Duncan Ross, a man with very red hair, is sitting behind the table. We can hear the noise of a lot of people out in the street.
Next.
This is Mr. Jabez Wilson, and he wants to be in the League.
And he has a good head of hair. I can't remember when I saw a better head.
Ah! Stop it!
I'm sorry, but we must be careful. Of course, it is your hair. I can see that now. Please, sit down. My name is Duncan Ross. Have you got a wife, Mr. Wilson? And children?
No. I have no wife and no family.
Oh, dear. Some of the men in our league have lots of red-headed children. We like that.
I'm sorry, but
It's all right. You have that wonderful head of hair. When can you begin work here?
It's not easy. I have a shop and...
I can stay in the shop, Mr. Wilson.
What hours must I work?
10 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
And the wages?
£4 a week.
What must I do?
You must work here, in the office, all the time. That is very important. You cannot go out between the hours of 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock.
And the work?
You must copy from this large book. And you must bring paper and a pen. Can you begin tomorrow?
Yes, I can.
Then goodbye, Mr. Jabez Wilson.
Scene 3. Wilson tells his story. Sherlock Holmes's room. Holmes and Wilson are sitting in chairs. Holmes is smoking his pipe. Wilson has the Morning Chronicle in his hands.
Most interesting, Mr. Wilson. Most interesting.
Holmes? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
Come
know.
in, my dear Watson. This is Mr. Jabez Wilson. He is telling me a very strange story. This is Dr. Watson. He's a good friend. Give him the advertisement to read. He does a lot of writing, Watson. Do you see?
Oh! How did you know that, Mr. Holmes?
The right arm of your coat is different from the left. Your arm is on the table when you write.
Yes, that's right.
It's very strange, Holmes.
It is strange, isn't it? Do you see the day and month of the newspaper?
It's the Morning Chronicle of the 27th of April, 1890, 2 months ago.
Now, Mr. Wilson, tell us about your shop.
It's in Saxe-Coburg Square, Mr. Holmes. It's a little shop, and it doesn't make much money.
Does somebody help you in the shop?
Yes, a young man. Well, he's not very young, but he works for half wages.
Does he? What's his name?
Vincent Spaulding. He's very good at his work. He likes to take photographs when he's not working. And he makes the pictures in my dark cellar, but he works well when he's in the shop.
How did you first see the newspaper advertisement? Tell us that.
Spaulding saw it 8 weeks ago, and we went to Pope's Court and saw Mr. Duncan Ross. I told you about the visit a few minutes ago.
Yes, yes. And I can tell Watson about it later. What happened next?
Well, I was very pleased, Mr. Holmes. I went home feeling very happy, but that evening I began to think again. Copying from a book is strange work for a man to do, I thought.
Very strange, yes.
But the next morning I went to Pope's Court with my pen and some paper. Mr. Ross was there, but he soon went away, and I began my work.
Well?
I went in every morning at 10 o'clock and went home at 2, and on Saturday Ross was in the office again and gave me my £4.
How long did you work there?
8 weeks. But today I went to the office at 10 o'clock and the door was locked. This was on the door.
The Red-Headed League is finished. June the 23rd, 1890. Then what did you do?
I went to the office in the next building, and I asked the man, "What happened to the Red-Headed League?" "Who are they?" he asked. "Who is the man at number 7?" I asked. "The man with the red hair," he said. "His name is William Morris. He moved out yesterday. He has new offices at 17 King Edward Street." Well, I went to King Edward Street, Mr. Holmes.
You did not find a Mr. William Morris or a Mr. Duncan Ross, am I right?
You are.
What did you do then?
I went home to Saxe-Coburg Square.
What does Spaulding say about all this?
He says, "Wait for a letter. You're going to hear something."
What do you think?
I need your help, I think.
You are right, Mr. Wilson. I am happy to help you, but first I want to ask you 1 or 2 questions. Mr. Spaulding was the first to see the advertisement, yes?
Yes.
When did he begin to work for you?
About 3 months ago.
How did he come?
He answered an advertisement in the newspaper.
Was he the only man to answer it?
No, 12 people answered it.
Why did you take him?
Because he was cheap.
He is happy to work for half the usual wages.
Yes.
Tell me about him, this Vincent Spaulding.
He's small and a good, quick worker. He's about 30 years old, I think.
Where is he now?
He's at the shop.
That is all, Mr. Wilson. Today is Saturday. I'm going to have an answer for you before Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
We must work quickly, Watson. Put on your hat. We are going to Saxe-Coburg Square.
Scene 4. Holmes meets Spaulding. Outside the shop in Saxe-Coburg Square. Holmes is walking up and down. Now and then he hits the ground outside the shop with his walking stick. Then he hits the door of the shop. Spaulding opens the shop door and looks out. The legs of his trousers are dirty.
Can I help you?
Yes. How can I get to the Strand?
3rd on the right and 4th on the left.
He's a clever young man, Watson.
He is? Why did you ask about the Strand? You know London very well. You wanted to see him.
Not him. His trousers.
His trousers? I don't understand. And why did you hit the ground with your stick?
My dear doctor, this is not the time for talking. I must go and look at the roads behind Saxe-Coburg Square. Are you going to your work?
Yes, I must go to the hospital.
I have things to do too. But I want your help tonight. Come at 10 o'clock, and Watson...
Yes, Holmes?
Bring your gun.
Scene 5. To catch a thief. Sherlock Holmes's room. Holmes, Jones, and Merryweather are talking quietly. Watson comes in.
Watson, you know Mr. Jones of Scotland Yard, and this is Mr. Merryweather. They're coming with us tonight.
Hello, Doctor. We meet again. I'm here because I want to catch John Clay. He's a killer and a thief. One of the worst men in London. It isn't going to be easy to catch him, because he's very clever.
It's after 10 o'clock. We must go.
Scene 6. Watching and waiting. Inside the bank strong room. There are boxes on the floor. It is dark. The door opens and Holmes comes in, carrying a light. Watson, Jones, and Merryweather come after him. Holmes looks carefully at the floor. Merryweather sits on a box and hits the floor with his foot.
How do you know?
Please, no noise. Perhaps they can hear us.
How long before...
An hour. They're going to wait for Mr. Wilson to go to bed, then work quickly, I think. We're in the strong room of the first bank. Did you know that? Mr. Merryweather works for the bank. Tell Watson, Mr. Merryweather, what do the thieves want?
Our gold. It's in all these boxes. Lots and lots of it.
Gold?
We must wait in the dark. Get behind the boxes, everyone. Things are going to happen in the next hour, I think. When I hear or see anything strange, I'm going to come out quickly with a light. And then you must help me. Be ready with your gun, Watson. Is everything ready upstairs, Mr. Jones?
My men are waiting at the front door of the bank, Holmes. They can't get out there.
Good. Now we must be quiet and wait.
It's 11:15, Holmes. When...
Shh!
Now, have you got... What?
You can't get away, John Clay!
No, but my friend...
There are 3 men waiting for him at the front door of the bank.
You think of everything, Mr. Holmes. You're very clever.
Your red-headed league was clever too, but I am pleased to catch the famous John Clay.
Scene 7. Holmes and Watson. Sherlock Holmes's room. Holmes and Watson are sitting in chairs. Holmes is smoking his pipe.
They needed the red-headed league to get Mr. Wilson out of his shop. Do you understand that?
Yes, I think. Yes.
They wanted Wilson away from the shop for some hours every day. But how could they do it? Then Clay saw the colour of Ross's hair and thought of a red-headed league. When Wilson answered their newspaper advertisement, he went to work in their office every day. Then they had time to make their tunnel. Very clever.
So, Spaulding is John Clay, the famous thief. When did you first know that?
Spaulding was happy to work for half wages. Why, I thought. Spaulding often went down to the cellar. What's he doing down there, I thought. Suddenly, I thought about tunnels. Is Spaulding making a tunnel, I thought, to another building? Watson, you saw me hitting the ground with my stick outside the shop.
Yes. Now I understand. Was the cellar in front of the shop? You wanted to know that.
Yes, I did. And it wasn't. The cellar was behind the shop. Then I saw the man Spaulding. Did you see his trousers?
Yes. I saw them.
They were dirty, Watson. Why? Because making a tunnel is dirty work.
Very clever, Holmes.
Then I went into the next street at the back of the shop. And what did I see? The first bank.
The bank, yes, of course.
Why is that young man making a tunnel, I thought? To get into the bank strong room.
But why tonight? How did you know?
Because they closed the offices of the Red-Headed League. The tunnel must be ready, I thought. And Saturday is a good day. The bank does not open on Sunday. 2 days for the thieves to get away.
Aha, but they didn't get away, Holmes. You're very clever.
That's very true, Watson.
The Three Students. Scene 1. Hilton Soames's story. Sherlock Holmes is sitting at a table, writing. It is evening. Watson comes in with Hilton Soames.
Who was at the door, Watson?
This is Mr. Hilton Soames, Holmes. He teaches at St. Luke's College.
Can you give me some of your time, Mr. Holmes? Today something happened at the college, and I was very worried. Then I thought, the famous detective Sherlock Holmes is visiting our town. Perhaps he can help. And
I have a lot of work to do, Mr. Soames. Perhaps the police...
No, I can't go to the police.
Well, tell me your story, Mr. Soames.
Tomorrow is the first day of an important examination, and I'm one of the examiners. Today, at 3 o'clock, the 3 exam papers arrived for me to read. Of course, every student would like to see these papers before the exam.
Of course.
We are always very careful with them. I began to read them, but at 4:30 p.m., I went out to have tea in a friend's rooms.
Where did you leave the papers?
They were on my writing table. I locked my door and was away for an hour. When I arrived home, I saw a key in my door. Is it my key? I thought. No, that's in my pocket. Ah, it's Bannister's key. Bannister is my servant.
Why did he go to your room this afternoon?
He brings my tea in every afternoon.
But you were at your friend's rooms. Did he forget that?
Yes, and so his key was in my door. He is usually careful, but...
Tell me about the examination papers. Where were they when you went back to your room?
One was on a small table next to the window. One was on the floor, and one on my writing table.
The first paper on the floor, the second in the window, and the third on the writing table.
Yes. How did you know that?
Please, tell us more of your very interesting story, Mr. Soames.
First I thought, did Bannister look at the papers? So I asked him, but he said, no, I did not. And he is an honest man, Mr. Holmes.
What happened next?
Bannister suddenly began to feel ill when I told him about the papers. He sat down on a chair and I gave him a strong drink. Then I looked carefully at the table next to the window.
What did you find?
Small pieces of pencil.
Did somebody break and sharpen a pencil?
Yes, perhaps. Yes, that was it.
Good. That helps us.
2 more things. I have a new writing table, but now there's a little cut on it. And there was a piece of black mud on the table.
Is that all?
Yes. Please help me, Mr. Holmes.
It's an interesting story, Mr. Soames. Tell me, did any student visit you in your room after the papers arrived this afternoon?
Yes. Daulat Ras, a student from India.
And the papers were on your writing table?
Yes, but he couldn't read them. He was 2 or 3 meters away.
But they were exam papers. Could he see that?
Perhaps.
The examination papers were in your room. Did anyone know that? Did Bannister know that?
No, nobody.
Where is Bannister now?
When I ran out to find you, Mr. Holmes, he was on the chair in my room. He looked very ill.
Did you leave your door open?
Yes, but I locked the papers up first.
Come then. We must go to your room.
Scene 2. Holmes visits the college. Soames, Holmes and Watson come into Soames's living room. Holmes walks to the window and looks out.
That window does not open, Mr. Holmes. Nobody can enter the room through there.
Your servant isn't here now. Perhaps he's feeling better. Which chair did you leave him on?
The chair by the window.
Near this little table? Yes. Yes, of course. The man comes in. He takes the 3 papers from the writing table to carry them across to the window. Because then he can see you when you come across the garden to the front door, Soames.
But he didn't see me, because I walked in through the back door.
Ah, that helps. Can I see the 3 papers now? He carries this first paper across to the table near the window and begins to copy it. It takes him 10 minutes?
15, I think.
All right, 15. Then he puts it down on the floor, gets the next paper, and begins to copy that. Then he hears you coming in the back door, Mr. Soames. He must be quick. He leaves the second paper on the table next to the window and runs. Where? Did you hear him running upstairs?
No, I didn't.
He's writing quickly because he breaks his pencil and needs to sharpen it again. This is interesting. The pencil was long and dark blue. Look at these pieces. And do you see the gold letters NN? It's at the end of a word. Do you know Johann Faber pencils?
I do, Holmes. I write with them.
This is the piece of black mud. I can see the cut. What is that door?
It opens into my bedroom.
Did you go into your bedroom before you ran out to find me?
No.
A man can hide behind this curtain. What's this? It's some mud again. Your visitor was in this room, Mr. Soames.
But why?
Think for a minute. He hears you coming. What can he do? He must hide. So he runs into your bedroom and hides behind this curtain.
Oh, then he was in here when Bannister and I were in the next room.
Yes, that's right. Tell me, how many students live upstairs and go past your door?
3. All taking this examination.
Who are they?
There is Gilchrist. He plays football and likes running. His father was Sir Jabez Gilchrist. He was a rich man, but he gambled his money away. Young Gilchrist hasn't much money, but he works hard.
And the Indian student?
Yes, Dowlat Ras is a quiet young man, but he works well. Then there is Miles McLaren, a very clever young man. But he doesn't study much, and he's worried about this examination.
So he would like to see the papers first?
Well, yes, perhaps.
Can we speak to Bannister, your servant?
Scene 3. Some questions for Bannister. In Soames's living room. Holmes, Watson and Soames are sitting in chairs. Holmes is sitting at the writing table. Bannister is standing in front of him.
Your key was in the door of this room today, Bannister. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I don't usually leave it there, but
Tell me, when did you come into the room?
about 4:30 p.m., sir, with Mr. Soames's tea, but he wasn't here.
Did you look at the papers on the table?
No, sir.
Why did you leave the key in the door?
The tea things were in my hands. I thought, I can come back for the key.
Did you forget to come back?
Yes, sir.
So the room was open all the time, and somebody in the room could get in or out?
Yes, sir.
When Mr. Soames talked to you about the papers, you began to feel ill, so you sat down on the chair over there. Why did you go past the other chairs?
I don't know, sir.
Did you stay here when Mr. Soames ran out?
Only for a minute or two. Then I locked the door and went to my room.
Mr. Soames, I would like to visit the three young gentlemen. Is that all right?
Yes, of course. These rooms are very old and very interesting. Visitors often go to look at them.
Scene 4. Gilchrist. Holmes, Soames and Watson are outside the door of Gilchrist's room. They are looking at the doorway.
Remember, gentlemen, you do not have a pencil with you.
What are you... Oh, it's you, Mr. Soames.
Gilchrist, this is Mr. Holmes and his friend. They are looking at the building.
Have you got a pencil, Watson? This is a most interesting doorway, and I want to draw it.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, Holmes.
Have you, Mr. Gilchrist?
A pencil? Oh, yes. There you are, Mr. Holmes. It is a beautiful building.
Ah, thank you. Yes, Mr. Gilchrist. A beautiful building.
Scene 5. Dowlett Rass. Holmes, Watson and Soames are in Dowlett Rass's room. The Indian is walking up and down the room. He looks worried. Holmes is drawing on a piece of paper.
A very interesting room, Soames. Thank you, Mr. Rass. Are you worried about something?
Sorry, what did you say? Worried? Oh, yes. It's the examination.
Is that all?
Yes, of course. What?
Good evening, Mr. Rass.
Scene 6. Miles McLaren. Holmes, Watson and Soames are outside the door of Miles McLaren's room.
Go away! I'm busy. I can't see anybody. Go away at once.
McLaren, this is Mr.
Go away! It's the examination tomorrow. I must study.
Come, my friends, it is not important.
I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, but...
Is he a tall young man?
Tall? No, McLaren isn't tall. Gilchrist is the tallest of the three.
Good. And now, Mr. Soames, good night.
What? Are you going? But tomorrow is the examination. What can I do? How...
I'm going to take the pieces of pencil and the mud with me. Don't worry. I'm going to come back tomorrow morning with the answer.
Scene 7. Holmes is thinking. Holmes's room. He and Watson are sitting in chairs.
What do you think, Watson? Who began to copy the papers?
McLaren. He said go away. But did he want to hide something? Or perhaps the student from India, Mr. Rass. He looked very worried.
Many people are worried before an examination, Watson. It is nothing. And the pencil was no help to us. What about Soames's servant?
Bannister. He's an honest man, Soames says. That's true, I think.
Yes. So why did an honest man... Oh dear, I must think. Where's my pipe, Watson?
Scene 8. All the answers to all the questions. Soames's room. It is morning. A very worried Soames is bringing Holmes and Watson into the room.
Well, Mr. Holmes, can we have the examination later this morning, or must I stop it?
You can have the examination, Mr. Soames.
But the young
He
man...
isn't going to take it.
You know him?
Yes, I do. Please call Bannister.
You have the answer, Holmes.
Yes, my dear Watson. Look.
3. There were only 2 pieces of mud yesterday. Where did the 3rd piece come from?
Now, Bannister, I want the true story. What happened yesterday?
I told you everything, sir.
You have nothing more to say? Then I must tell you. When Mr. Soames called you into the room yesterday, you saw something on that chair, and you sat on it before Mr. Soames could see it.
No, sir.
Yes! And when Mr. Soames went out to find me, you opened the door and said, "You can come out now," to the man hiding behind the curtain.
There was no man, sir.
That isn't true. But please go and stand next to the bedroom door. Soames, please go and ask young Gilchrist to come down. Mr. Gilchrist, there are only the 5 of us to hear your answer to my question. Why did you copy the examination papers yesterday?
No, Mr. Gilchrist, sir. I never said anything.
No, but you are helping us now, Bannister. Tell us, Mr. Gilchrist. You did something very wrong, Gilchrist, but you're sorry now. I can see that. I'm going to tell you the story, Soames. Mr. Gilchrist first saw the papers through the window.
But nobody can get in through the window.
That's true, but a very tall man can look through it from the garden. I could not understand this cut, but then I remembered. Gilchrist likes running.
But how does that help, Holmes?
Think, Watson. This young man went running yesterday afternoon. When he walked home, his running shoes were in his hands.
And running shoes have spikes, of course.
Yes, Gilchrist went past this window and looked in. He's a tall young man, you see. He saw the exam papers on the writing table. Then he went past Soames's door and saw the key in it.
And he went into the room and put his shoes on the writing table, and a spike cut into it.
Yes, Watson. What did you put on that chair near the window?
My watch.
He puts his watch on the chair, then begins to copy one of the papers. I'm going to see Mr. Soames when he comes back across the garden, he thinks. But you walk in through the back door, Soames.
Then what?
Gilchrist hears you coming, quickly takes his running shoes and runs into your bedroom to hide. One shoe leaves some black mud behind the curtain. Is this all true, Mr. Gilchrist? I found the same black mud on your shoes.
Yes, sir, it's true.
Have you nothing more to say?
I have a letter here, Mr. Soames. Early this morning I began to write to you. It says, I'm not going to take the examination. I'm going to South Africa to work for the police there.
I see. You're not going to take the examination now. I'm pleased to hear that.
Mr. Bannister talked to me. This is the right thing to do. I understand that now.
Gilchrist was in the bedroom, Bannister, and you didn't tell Mr. Soames. When you saw Gilchrist's watch, you sat on it to hide it. Why?
Well, sir, I was once a servant to Sir Jabez Gilchrist, this young gentleman's father.
Ah.
When he gambled his money away, I moved to the college to be a servant. But I always remembered Sir Jabez. He was good to me, so I did everything to help his son here.
And yesterday?
When Mr. Soames called me yesterday, I saw Mr. Gilchrist's watch on the chair. He looked at the examination papers, I thought, and I quickly sat down on the watch before Mr. Soames saw it.
Then Mr. Soames visited me.
Yes, sir, and I called young Mr. Gilchrist. You looked at the exam papers, I said to him. Did you copy them? Yes, he said. I did. Then you cannot take the exam, I said. Think of your father. He was an honest man, and you must be honest too. I wanted to stop him, Mr. Holmes.
You were right, Bannister. Well, Soames, you have your answers now. And you, young man, did wrong. But you're going to put things right. You can thank Bannister for that.
I do thank him, sir.
Come, Watson. Our work is finished here.
Yes, Holmes.